With many Americans demanding stricter gun control laws, there are millions screaming absolutely not, believing it will actually make crime worse and make America less safe. Joining me now is John Lott Jr., economist, pro-gun advocate, and author of At the Brink, Will Obama Push Us Over the Edge? Welcome back, Mr. Lott. You heard there some very compelling testimony from not least Neil Heslin, who lost his son at Sandy Hook, and also from Dr. Begg there, revealing in very graphic detail up on the Hill today exactly what these weapons can do. Is your belief still that the only answer to America's gun violence is more guns?
Well, I think we all want to try to keep criminals from going and getting guns. The question is what's going to work and what's going to actually make the situation worse off. The doctor's discussion right now was very moving. Unfortunately, I think it was a little bit misleading. Rather than going classifying things as handguns versus assault weapons, it would have been nice if he had just talked about rifles, because that's what these assault weapons are. If he wants to go and talk about any hunting rifle that could go and do the same type of damage, that's fine. But to use terms like assault weapons didn't add anything to the discussion. And besides, I don't know if you know this, but true military weapons are actually designed not to kill people. They're designed to wound. They're designed to have the bullet go straight through the body. And the reason for that is we've learned over time, our military's learned, that if you go and wound enemy soldiers, you pin down many more of their troops to take care of their wounded comrades.
How many, Mr. Lott, sorry to interrupt you, but how many of the children at Sandy Hook that were shot were wounded and not killed? Do you know?
Well, obviously they were all killed, but I'm not sure what the point is going to be there. It took 20 minutes between the first phone call.
The specific point I'm making to you is that the AR-15 that was used against them killed those children, as you know, and it caused absolutely devastating damage to those poor little bodies. 3 to 11 bullets each, and I'm told by experts who have seen the damage that it caused, that it created holes the size of baseball bats. That is why people want those weapons banned.
No, but
and the rights of those children, to me, supersede any other right in America. Do they to you?
Look, Piers, let me just ask you a question. Would the wounds have been any different if they had used a hunting rifle that fired the same size bullets, the same 22 3 caliber bullets? Would it have been any different? If it was a hunting semi-automatic hunting rifle?
How many bullets can the average hunting rifle fire in a minute, do you know?
This semi-automatic hunting rifles can fire exactly the same number of bullets per minute as your AR-15, because the AR-15 functionally is exactly the same as a semi-automatic hunting rifle.
But this is the whole point. But Mr. Lott, this is the whole point. We discussed it before. This is the whole reason why you have to also ban the high-capacity magazines, because the point of doing all this is not just to annoy people like you who believe it's an infringement on your rights.
I never have argued that.
It's actually to try and protect people. No, your argument's always been more guns, less crime. But I've always argued with you passionately, based on the evidence from Australia, from Britain, from Japan, from other countries, with brought in tough gun control. That's simply not true, is it? It's just not true.
Well, you made multiple points there. Let's just try to go through them in order. The first one that you were saying is, again, pointing to magazines as somehow differing assault weapons versus hunting rifles. And the point is once a gun...
Nobody needs a high-capacity magazine to hunt, do they? Nobody needs that. No huntsman, no hunter has told me. I've interviewed many people since we last spoke. Many people go hunting. None of them have said to me they need a high-capacity magazine or an AR-15 military-style rifle. That's not hunting. That's not sport. No. You don't just spray gun a deer with 100 bullets in a minute. So if you remove hunting from the equation, what are you left with as a purpose for these weapons?
No. There's 2 points here. One is these guns may look a certain way on the outside, but they're exactly the same as a hunting rifle. People use AR-15s to go and hunt for the same reason they go and use relatively small caliber hunting rifles to go and hunt. You know, it's exactly the same gun. It just looks different on the outside. If you want to ban all semi-automatic hunting rifles, then let's talk about banning all. But the point, as I said, you brought up many points. I just want to mention I can find 10 cases without trying too hard. I found them in December where people fired more than 10 shots to defend themselves against people who had broken into their homes. You had cases where 3 or 4 burglars had broken in at one time, and being able to fire multiple shots is beneficial.
I'm aware there are some cases like that. I'm also aware there have been numerous more mass shootings, and you're aware of that too. Let's come back and continue this debate. I want to ask you when we come back, how many dead bodies you have seen that have actually been shot by these AR-15s in your life, because you are a guns expert.
Jesse's fatal shot was in his forehead. It went in right at his hairline, exited directly behind that. Jesse looked at coward Adam Lanza in the eyes, saw his face, and he looked at the end of that barrel. Jesse didn't run. Jesse didn't turn his back. That was a fatal shot that killed Jesse.
Neil Heslin, father of Sandy Hook victim Jesse, talking so movingly today on Capitol Hill. I'm back now with John Lott Jr. Mr. Lott, do you know how many mass shootings there have been in the last 30 years in America?
I mean, I've written papers on it. I couldn't tell you exactly over 30 years. But
okay, it's about 63. And do you know which
I think there's
weapons?
More than that.
Well, it may be as many as 65, including this year. But this is up to the end of 2012.
You're talking
mass
about
shooting being defined by, or mass shooting being defined by the FBI as more than 4 people shot dead. So if we agree on that as the terminology,
I think you're using the Mother Jones article. But look,
okay, do you know? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know what weapons were used in those mass shootings?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a range of weapons that have been used, everything from handguns to hunting rifles to things you would call assault weapons. But the point is, these assault weapons.
Well, the point is this: there've been 71 semi-automatic handguns, 28 rifles, 23 revolvers, 21 shotguns. But here's the point: of the 143 weapons used in those mass shootings, 62 would be outlawed by the assault weapons ban of 2013. So this is a very specific campaign to try and remove from public civilian usage and availability the type of weapon being used to slaughter Americans. What I don't understand from all the expertise that you bring to this is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but of all the 35 proposals President Obama has put forward, which ones would you actually agree with in terms of introducing more gun safety in America?
Okay. Before I get to that question, which I will get to, I want to go and deal with the points that you were just raising, and that was, it's just not me. You look at the National Academy of Sciences in 2004, they looked at all the academic studies that have been done, and they could not find any evidence that the types of bans that you're talking about have reduced any type of violent crime. You look at the studies funded by the Clinton administration. They could not find any evidence that those types of bans have
Let me give you some. Let me give you some, Mr. Lott. You've just said what you said. Let me answer you. In 1996, as you know, there was a horrendous mass shooting in Australia, in Hobart, 35 people killed. They brought in extensive gun control and gun bans in Australia. In the period leading up to that, in the 10-year period, there were 18 mass shootings in Australia. Do you know how many there have been since the gun ban was brought in?
Well, depends how you define them. I know the way you're going to define them.
Actually, it's very easy to define. More than 4 people killed in a shooting. Do you know how many there have been in Australia since they brought in the gun ban?
Okay. Do you know how many? You know how many there's been in New Zealand?
Can you answer my question first? Then we'll move on to supplementaries.
Well, the way you define it, you're going to say it's 0. But
how many mass shootings have there been in a country that before they had a massacre and changed their laws, they had 18?
Yeah,
how many have there been since 1996?
Okay. No, you're going to let me talk for a second. The point is,
answer the question.
I just did. If you look at New Zealand,
how many since '96?
I already said.
I haven't heard your answer.
I've already said a couple times. I said the way you define it, it's 0. But the point
0.
is.
So just to clarify.
No, sir.
You agree with me. You agree with me that in a country that brought in extensive gun control and gun bans following 18 mass shootings culminating in 35 people being slaughtered, there have been zero mass shootings since. Here's my second question.
No. You can't go and ask 3 or 4 questions at once. You've made
I'm
many
asking you my
factual
questions.
statements. Let me
you
respond.
are to answer my questions, not the ones that suit you and your agenda.
No.
Let me ask you a second question.
Wait a second, sir.
You don't have to answer it, Mr. Lott, but I will ask you this question because it's very important to the premise of your argument. Let me ask you this question. In the same year, in 1996, I'm going to keep talking, so I suggest you keep quiet. In 1996, in the same year as the Hobart Massacre in Australia, in Dunblane in Scotland, as you know, 16 children of a similar age to Sandy Hook were slaughtered by a mass shooter. As a result, Britain brought in handgun bans, semi-automatic bans and other bans. I want to ask you one question again.